Hey Aquarius, how's it going? We are here with a timeless reading. Welcome to the channel. The first card that we have out is Nine of Wands. Three of Swords. And the Tower. Okay. Having the Tower here feels like this was potentially like not a situation that you expected to be in or for something to come to. Starting off with the Nine of Wands sort of presents us with a challenge of some sort. It's something that may not be the most simple thing to clear up. It can be something that's going to take some time. It's going to take some effort. It's going to take some figuring it out. I get kind of a feeling like you're in a bit of a predicament type of energy with this Nine of Wands in particular. Now, having Three of Swords next to it and the Tower, there could be like unexpectedly like getting hurt or getting injured. This can be like a pain psychologically coming through, or it can be psychically, or it can be spiritually, or it can be emotionally, or it can be physically, you know, lots of different ways that this can happen. But Three of Swords feels like a moment where there is a spot where something can feel raw in some way, or there can be like damage that occurs in that moment. And Tower feels then like everything feels like it shifts and maybe goes downhill a little bit for a moment. Three of Swords can be a jarring moment in itself, where it's like the reality of recognizing your vulnerability in a moment. But the Tower, and that's something in and of itself, the Tower coming up can be like, then something intensifies at that moment. So it's kind of like, in whatever way, like even metaphorically speaking, that this happens, it's like the wound occurs. This can also be with somebody else. Like this Three of Swords doesn't have to be your energy. You could have done something and then like somebody gotten hurt, but it could have been like, oh, I didn't expect that to be something that bothered you, you know? Lots of different ways that this can be. Three of Swords is going to be that moment where like the actual ouch, that hurt moment occurs, but then the Tower happening after feels like it's amplified somehow. And I'm seeing Eight of Swords on the bottom of the deck, which can be feeling like what to do now, what to do in this moment, where it can feel like things get really intense or really severe somehow. And Eight of Swords is like kind of, it can be a bit overwhelming. Again, this feeling of like, what do we do now? What do I do with this? What happens now? Where to go from here? Where to go from here? We have Two of Pentacles here. What do I do? How do I figure this out? Choices. Tower is going to be a time too where it can be actually more difficult to balance, because Tower can be like very, very chaotic now. What's going on here? This Two of Pentacles feels like tapping into a part of yourself that Three of Swords and the Tower and Nine of Wands can be this part of yourself that's very involved in something in 3D that's going on. Two of Pentacles feels like taking a step back to the part of you that's just like chilling no matter what's going on, and sort of remembering that you also have that part of yourself that's like witnessing what's going on, not judging it, not freaking out, like not really doing anything except being there observing what's happening. Remembering that you also have access to that part of yourself, and it feels like sort of taking a step back, so in between those two parts of yourself, and being like, what is the best way to approach this, to address this, to figure this out? Obviously, it's some type of challenge. This can also be something where it's like, it's hard to even think straight when I also am feeling vulnerable in this moment, because Three of Swords is like, ow, that moment where something really hurts, or I am really affected in this moment. And so just I'm processing that something just happened, let alone things are sort of all over the place right now in this moment. And you may also, like, Tower coming out can be like, I got hurt and now I'm having some type of reaction to this, because that's going to be your Mars energy, your Mars being activated. So this can definitely be associated with the transit that's happening with Mars and Uranus together. This can be happening wherever you have that going on, in whatever house in your chart, transit wise. All right, if you're not into astrology, never mind that. It's not anything that you need to, it's not going to throw off the reading if you don't know what I'm talking about. But for those of you that you're interested in the astrology and the transits, this is feeling like either something going on with your own Mars, or it can be something going on with transiting Mars within your chart. Because this feels like, the way that this pops up, I get like even a Uranian type of energy, which can be something sort of just happening in a moment, or you reacting in a moment. But it's definitely in response to something. So it's like you get hurt, or you feel vulnerable, or something impacts you, something affects you, or something really gets to you mentally. And then the Tower is like the part of you that's gonna come out and gonna do something. But Tower can feel like this very uncontrollable part of yourself too, that's just responding to what just happened. It's the part of you that's gonna like act quickly in these moments. Now all of this is going on, right? Two of Pentacles is feeling like, between that part of yourself that's responding, and between that and the part of you that's just like watching what's happening and is just there to sort of check out what's going on, if you can get sort of in between those two energies, it feels like that's where it's a good place to tap in to figure out what to do from here, what to do in this moment. So Two of Pentacles is like, this is the situation that's happening. I'm looking at what's going on. You clearly have some type of option here with, maybe this way would be better than this way to deal with it, or like, what do I really need to be focusing on, or how should I be problem solving? Two of Pentacles is also about being flexible. So you have something going on that may make you want to like buckle in this moment because of the pressure, the intensity of it. Two of Pentacles is saying, hey, you actually need to be flexible here with whatever this is that's going on. And Temperance is like being, I almost see this as these two different parts of yourself, where one of them is totally invested in sort of like all of the drama that's unfolding, and then there's another part of you that's like, oh, this is just part of the stuff that comes up, that now I have to figure this out, and now I have to deal with this. And the part of you that's sort of game for whatever is going to be showing up, even though there can be another part of you that's like, this is so uncomfortable right now, or that really hurt, or this is totally unpleasant, or absolutely not preferred. And then there's another part of you that's like, it's like a more patient part of yourself that I'm seeing here, where you know that you have to sort of be in the right space, or get into the right space to know how to go through this in the best way possible. And there can be a part of you that's feeling reactive, another part of you that's like, I need to make sure that I'm in the right space before I decide what to do here. Those things being important. I think that this is going to give you the opportunity to handle this situation in a different way than maybe you have before in the past. Ooh. All right. Why is this a challenge? Hierophant is going to be the part of you that can be set in your ways at times, and so this can be triggering to that part of yourself that likes to have things go your way, likes to be in control at times, can be like really annoying to that part of yourself. Like a very defined, preferred way that things unfold or happen. Nine of Wands feels like there's a challenge being posed to that, where your inflexibility is going to make this more challenging for you. But when you're going through something like this, there can be a part of you that wants to be less flexible because of going through it. You know, it can be like the way that one copes with this. Interesting. And now we also have the High Priestess here. This looks like something that impacts you on an emotional level, to say the least. And having the moon and having Mars here next to each other, this can be something that impacts you in an area like within yourself or within your life where you're actually like genuinely very vulnerable. Because the moon in your birth chart, in astrology, one of the interpretations of it, something that it symbolizes is like really the thinnest of your skin. It's like you without any sort of like protective barrier. It's like the fleshiest part of yourself, energetically speaking. And then to have Mars, which Mars is associated with like weapons and pointy things, you know, and stuff that can really do some damage, having that be next to, seeing the moon as like an egg without the shell on it, you know, and having that be here where something has now impacted that part of yourself, you can feel like whatever this is, it really actually cuts deeply. And so it makes a lot of sense why the Tower would come out, because that's your Mars energy being like, I'm here to protect this part of yourself. So a very vulnerable part of yourself, which is the moon, becomes wounded in some way. And this isn't like a superficial type of thing. This is like something that will cut very, very deeply. Three of Swords and the moon here with High Priestess. So this is something that like the one place that you don't want to get hit in, you get hit. It's like that type of thing. So it makes a lot of sense now why the Tower would come out, because I'm seeing the Tower be like your own energy here reacting to this, where it's like now the toughest part of you is going to be coming out and coming to the front. Like, let me just take care of this situation now. As a way to sort of protect yourself here. I wasn't expecting this to come out. I'm seeing 10 of Cups here. So this thing that's happening right here, it's a barrier to your sense of peace, your happiness, your fulfillment, your contentment, feeling like things are all right. So barrier, something between you and accessing that. So there's like a wall that comes up in this moment. Maybe that's also too what would be being weighed out here. Like do you want to be motivated by this? Do you want to be motivated by that? Do you want to respond like this? Do you want to respond like that? It's feeling like how to sort of take care of this. So this is all happening with you and another person, I'm seeing. Tower and Ten of Cups can be a part of you that wants to react to something and have a very big reaction. I will say that, like, in a relative way, you can feel sort of like this is justified, because when you get wounded in an intense way, in an area that you're very vulnerable within, the response wants to be very big, you know? Like, the protective measures want to react in a way that's going to be very protective, you know, even if that means shutting something down. But because this is motivated by a reactionary space, it can also be something where when you're grounded again, which this energy over here is not grounded. This energy is like chemical, emotional reaction that's happening. When you are not in that elevated space anymore, you can look back and be like, wow, I was being really reactive. I understand why I did that, but at the same time, if I were grounded in that moment, I would have handled that differently. This feels like before it even gets to that place, before it even gets to that level, it's figuring out, like, do I want to prioritize the part of me that wants to express itself and have a huge reaction here? Or do I want to look at the part of me that is connected with and motivated by the type of peace that I'm trying to experience, or the type of feeling like things are all right that I'm trying to experience, and figure out something with that? And I get too that this has to do with something very testing, like a trial going on between you and another person here. Two of Pentacles and the Lovers, choices and flexibility within a relationship, and also figuring out, do I want to do this with it, or do I want to do that? Do I want to go this way? Do I want to go that way? What do I want to do here within this situation? And Temperance is like, maybe we don't actually make a choice yet. Maybe we don't do anything. The interesting thing, like something that's coming to mind, is that like recently, within the recent weeks for the Aquarian readings, I feel like this is the third one where there's been this theme of hold on, like, do not react. Why don't you take a moment, take a breath? Why don't you pull back and not react to this? Like, a lot of it has been third reading where it's like, how about we don't do anything in this moment? That doesn't mean that you're not going to ever do anything about it, but Temperance is saying, like, something actually has a high probability that it can be worked out, that it can be figured out. This doesn't need to be like blown out of the water, blown out of proportion. You're having a response to something very real that's going on. And also too, this doesn't have to be the destruction of something either. Because Tower and Ten of Cups can be a moment where you're like, I don't care if this makes me happy. Sometimes I feel hurt, and so I'm gonna do all of this stuff, you know? And the Hierophant in the Tower feels like this is coming from a part of you that's very, very deeply rigid. That because you feel like something is maybe impressing upon a part of yourself that's like, I actually thought things would go this way, or they should be going that way, or this shouldn't be happening, or like that very rigid part of yourself. The Tower is like, well, if that's the only way that things can be, I'll come through and I'll take you completely out of this situation. And then you're like, wow, where'd my relationship go? I guess we're not trying to work things out anymore. The Lovers and Temperance is about taking your time with this person that you care about to actually like play this cycle out and figure things out. Like, you don't have to destroy the whole thing. This can actually be something that's figured out, but you're gonna have to temper a part of yourself that's feeling very reactive in this moment. And again, like, I want to say too, relatively speaking, if you're looking at this emotionally, I can very easily see why one may feel that it's justified to act like this, to react. And also simultaneously, you can feel like if you make a decision, like if you react, you're also being like a slave to your emotions here. And that they're sort of taking up the whole screen, and you're not seeing outside of that, not seeing beyond that. That doesn't mean you didn't get hurt here, because I'm seeing that be true. It doesn't mean this didn't hit you in a vulnerable spot, because it did. But it also means too that there's not just like one way to work this situation. And I think there's a part of you that there's like a default setting part of you that wants to do something here, and then there's another part of you that's like, we don't have to do it like that though. That doesn't have to be the way to handle this. But there can be a part of you that feels so triggered by this situation that the part of you that comes through and will like destroy this whole opportunity, is what I'm hearing, can feel like, now it's time for me to be coming out. But you also don't have to be controlled by that part of yourself. This is something that you can rein in if you want to. I think too, Two of Pentacles is like figuring out what's more important to you. Is it like having this reaction, or is it trying to work with this other person in the relationship? Like, what's best for you and what do you need? I am seeing that this is something that can die down. Okay. If you're being totally honest with yourself, if you check in with yourself, I think you will find that you don't feel totally grounded right now in this moment. And ask yourself if you want to make a decision when you're feeling ungrounded, and if that is really the way to go, to make a decision, to react. Because I'm seeing the Hanged Man, and this is feeling like you may see things one way and be like, I'm always going to stay. It gives you, Neptune can be this like illusion sort of that happens. And I will say this too, it's Neptune is retrograde. This is a time when things can be very cloudy and very unclear, and also other things can be coming to light, but there can be more confusion immediately too. So it can be a time where there's a rethinking that's happening as well. But having Neptune here can be like, you see things one way and you can feel like it's the only way to see things. And then more time passes and you're like, oh, that was just one way of looking at that. That was one perspective, and there are actually other perspectives or more perspectives. But when you make a choice, when you're in a narrow-minded space, it can feel like this is the only obvious way to go. But I feel like because we're here, right, with this reading, there's a part of you that I think you're tapping into another part of yourself that's like, that's not the only way to deal with this. It's not the only option that you have. There's more than that. You're not limited just to this like default reaction that you could have in this. And you can feel too like the actual biggest part of this challenge is learning how to work with yourself through a very intense situation. Like, I'm telling you, with Three of Swords and the High Priestess, this is the type of thing that is like, maybe this is the worst that somebody could hurt you. Like, it's in that category of, this is one of my most vulnerable things, and this is something that hurts so badly. And so it's like a very extreme level of something. You know, it's like when somebody gets like hit on the toe, like the worse you get hit or the worse you stub it, the more loudly you want to scream to like express yourself and to get that out there. And from like an energetic perspective, that's sort of what this is within you. So it's like, can you channel this in a different way though? Like, can you still allow your Mars to come out and do something, but it doesn't have to be the wrecking ball of this relationship? I'm imagining for most of you that this is a relationship because of the Lovers being here. The Lovers and Temperance is like, Lovers, choice within the relationship. Temperance is like, don't do anything yet. you may want to wait a little bit. You may want to try to open your perspective a little bit more, or recognize that I'm triggered, and so I'm only certain things are going to be coming to the front right now, but there's other stuff that still hasn't like made its way to the surface that may change like my desire to make certain choices. Two of Pentacles and Ten of Swords feels like, do I want to end the relationship or not? Do I want to call something to a close or not? But Two of Pentacles and Ten of Swords can mean too that maybe there's something within the relationship, an aspect of a cycle in the relationship that's going to come to an end, but it doesn't have to mean the whole ending of a relationship. Maybe it can mean like, hey, we're not going to be like communicating with each other like this anymore. We're not going to be talking about that thing anymore, or you know, like something else that can be going on, where like Ten of Swords can have lots of different meanings, but it can mean that maybe something that at this point it's not healthy for an aspect of that to continue. Maybe that can be the thing to come to a close, rather than it having to be the whole relationship, unless you do want the whole relationship to end, but it doesn't seem that cut and dry from what I'm seeing. And having Neptune and then having Five of Swords come out feels like a moment where you may see sort of the way that you were thinking, and see that it's not actually the part of you that's totally connected with your heart space. It's connected with a different type of space within you. And if you were to make a choice from that point, you could be like, I did that without feeling like fully present and connected to myself, to my like wise mind and wise heart in this moment. And I was just reacting to something that I felt very deeply impacted by. And like, who's gonna fault you for that? You know, it's one of those things where it's like, if you were to, say an example, end the relationship based off of this, you can look back and be like, it was justified, but there can be another part of you that's like, but it wasn't the only option then. And I think that's what this is boiling down to, is that nobody's saying that it would be wrong for you to end the whole relationship, like you could really do that, or end the whole situation. But there can be another part of you that's like, that wasn't the only way to handle this, and are you going to regret that then and be like, I was only seeing red in that moment and then did something, you know? Temperance and Ten of Swords feels like hold off on making any final calls or final decisions. It feels like allowing a process to sort of unfold naturally without having to really step in and do something big here. Because I'm seeing Temperance be directly related to what's going on with you and this person, and I'm almost getting this like your moon energy, the High Priestess here, which is like your higher self that you're speaking to. I feel like it's almost the moon is sort of getting hijacked by your Mars energy, which is like, we have to go to war now, you know, or like I need to show up and take care of this. I get it in that sense. And so there can be a part of you that's like, moon energy, step aside. Your Mars is now going to show up and enter into like the chat with you and this person now. Then it feels like the challenge is actually like, how do you get both of these energies to express themselves, and how do you dial back your Mars energy or channel it in another route where it can actually be helpful to allow you to express something, but to also not destroy something simultaneously. You know what this is actually reminding me of? This is reminding me of the Aries reading that I did yesterday. The Aries, for those of you that you have Aries in your chart, you may find that reading to be very helpful. The Aries reading was about I think it's called like unlimited access of your avatar, something like that. In the Aries reading, for those of you that are interested, it was about how instead of just having an on or off switch or a like severe or no reaction at all, tapping into this part of yourself where there's like a gradient, where it doesn't have to be a super extreme reaction or like no reaction at all, that there can be a middle ground that's found, and how it gives you more access, because it can be very limiting to just have an on or off switch, like I'm reacting or I'm not doing anything, or I'm like very extreme or nothing at all. Then being able to sort of more accurately figure out the degree to which your Mars should be expressing itself in this situation, and also too like what the game plan is, and to be able to zoom out and see the bigger picture rather than just this moment in a vacuum and then do something based off of that. But I do feel like something got stepped on here. Like the Hierophant is like, I have important like rules that I live by, or certain values that are really important to me, or ways that I see things. And Three of Swords can be pain that has an area where that's been impacted. Your values and things that are important to you, something that has come through and potentially been like a damaging force to that. And then like your happiness or your fulfillment or your connection being sort of all tied up in the midst of that, and then figuring out like, what do I do with this now? But I do get this sense of your energy here that may be very much like in a bit of an extreme, wanting to potentially do something, but then having Hierophant and having Temperance be connected with one another. This is like, how do you see this part of yourself where you may be an extreme or in a rigid, embodying something rigidly, and Temperance is like, how do we make that pliable again? How do we make that flexible again in a way where you can actually work through this rather than it potentially being something extreme, an extreme way of handling this? I'm curious to see like what happened with this Three of Swords though, because it definitely just gives the impression that like something really impacted you in a way that could have felt really undesirable, but like what actually was the thing that happened? That can be the variable too. Can be something that was said, it can be a way that an intention that somebody had, something that someone did. This can feel intentional, what this was that happened, but again, like, does that mean that that's it though? I wonder too if like the person on the other end of this was hurt and then did something to you, and now this is the part of you that may be coming out. Because again, like I get this feeling that if you were to break it off with this person, you could very much feel like it was justified, but at the same time there can be another part of you that's like, you have more options than just that, and are they only allowed to just like make this type of mistake and then that's it for you? And there's no like right or wrong. It's like, if that's really it for you, then that's it for you. Like I don't see anything where it would be like unjustified, you know, but also too, it wouldn't be unjustified for you to still work things out with this person. I'm not seeing a like, nope, like go no further, you're supposed to end this. I'm not seeing anything like that. But yeah, somebody could have said something or like painted a picture for you that you were like not into it. Could have been something along the lines of that. But you could have also felt too like there was an intention here that you didn't like. Do you want to keep working with their energy or not? But I see, again, like, having Temperance here is feeling like you're not... if you think that you're ready to do this, you can do it. But in the sense of what I'm seeing here, in the grand scheme of things, in the zoomed out scheme of things, it looks like you may not be ready to figure out what you want to do about this yet. And I would still sit with this for a little bit. I feel like we covered everything of importance here. I'm seeing Sag, I'm seeing Gemini, and I'm seeing Taurus. We have Mars and we also have the moon here. If there's any bit of conflict that you are feeling, you don't have to do anything about this yet. That doesn't mean you're gonna not do anything at all, but you may still want to sit with this, because it feels like sitting with this still is what's being suggested at this moment, and that things actually can be worked out, and not in a way where things can go back and be harmful, but that things can actually get better from here, and that it's possible for that to happen. Because Ten of Swords is feeling like if you decide to continue with your relationship with this person, it seems very much like certain things that may not be okay are going to close out and come to an end. And that like the healthy parts of the relationship can continue. You know, this feels like one of those things where it's like, this is not okay. And so this is not gonna happen again. And then there can be a continuation of things where that actually won't happen again, you know? And like, if that's the case too, if you look at this and you're like, this type of thing will never happen again, and I can keep the relationship, like, wouldn't you maybe want to? And that's for you to decide for yourself what you want to do here. But there is an opportunity for you to allow things to evolve while staying together with you and this person. It is definitely something possible here that I'm seeing with the energy. And you guys know that I would tell you too. If I was seeing something where it's like, no, this has like run its course, it's not working, I'd be the first to tell you that's not what I'm seeing. You can do that if you want to. I'm seeing it be an option, but I'm not seeing it be the only option. And that may be something that you're figuring out too, like, you get to choose sort of how you want this to go. You get to dictate the narrative. Neptune going retrograde could have brought something to light that has sort of been hidden before too. So maybe something happened and this is really the time to address it, but it can be something sort of big that unfolded, because this is feeling like something that like really impacted you in a big way. One last thing, because I'm seeing Ten of Cups here and because I'm seeing the Tower above, the Tower can be that moment where you snap into the like headspace of your Mars, and even though something could actually be very much connected with like joy and happiness within your life, Mars can be like, never mind that, and go and do the reactionary thing that it needs to do. So just keep in mind too that there can be a part of you that pushes certain things aside to then do what it needs to do, because you know Mars can sort of compartmentalize, and then like when you're done playing the Mars energy out, you can look back at something and be like, yeah, I was triggered in that moment and like I did need to express myself, but also too I was forgetting the bigger picture that this is also a relationship that brings a lot of joy into my life, or that I have really great intimacy with this person, or it's somebody that I wanted to maintain a relationship with. So I feel like this is like zooming out as much as you can to be able to see the whole picture rather than only seeing what's going on in the vacuum of this moment. Okay? All right, my friends, we are going to leave the reading here. I would like to thank everyone for connecting. Thank you for tuning in. I'm sending everybody love, and I hope to catch you guys next time.